Hey guys, welcome to another video. This one is paper 2-2 of October-November 2010. So with that being said, let's move on to question number 1. Okay, so here we have to solve the equation. So we have modulus of 2x plus 10 equal to 7. So we have to find the values of x. Now, for this question, there's two ways of solving this. One is we can square both sides and then solve for x. And the other way, we can just do this. We can just write 2x plus 10 is equal to 7, or it is 2x plus 10 is equal to minus 7. Now we just have to solve for the value of x. So 2x will be 7 minus 10 will be minus 3. X will be minus 1.5. And this will be 2x will be minus 17. X will be minus 17 divided by 2. So this will be your answer for question number 1. Now, just to explain, you can also do the other way, which is you can square both sides. So we have 2x plus 10 square is equal to 7 square. Now you just have to expand and simplify and then find the values of x for this equation. Now let's move on to question number 2. The expression so x cubed plus ax squared minus 15x plus b has a factor of x minus 2. Okay, and it leaves a remainder of 75 when divided by x plus 3. Now we have to find the values of a and b. So one by one. So first thing I can do is let's call this expression f of x. That's the first step. Now I can see that it has a factor of this. So we have to derive the meaning of this sentence. So whenever an expression has a factor, we know that the remainder, when divided by a factor, it has to be 0. Okay, now the factor is this, but what is the value of x that we plug in the equation? So we just have to equate the factor to 0. That will give you x equal to 2. So which means, according to the remainder theorem, if you take f of x, we replace x by the value of 2 here. It is supposed to give you 0 because whenever you divide the expression with this factor, the remainder has to be 0. So basically, we are trying to build equations that we can solve to find the value of a and b. So one by one. Now let's first plug in the value of x by 2 in the main equation. You will have 8 plus 4a minus, this will be 2 times this will be 30 plus b equal to 0. Now let's simplify. What can we have? We can have 4a plus b is equal to 8 minus 30 should be minus 22. So we insert here will be 22. That is my equation number 1. Now, of course, I would say whenever you have the chance to use your calculator, please do so, because why not? Why do you want to risk of making a stupid mistake? So 8 minus 30 minus 22. So yeah, you can always double check with your calculator. Now, this is the equation number 1 that I was able to form from that first sentence. Now, we have leaves a remainder of 75 when divided by x plus 3. So basically, I know that. So the factor here, it's not a factor, but it is something that we divide by. So x plus 3, we have to equate to 0 to find the value of x that we plug in f of x. So basically it means that if you were to plug in the value of minus 3 in our equation, it will give you a remainder of 75. So that's what this sentence means, and this is the equation we have to form. Now, let's plug in the value here in the main equation. So minus 3 cubed will be what? Minus 27. Then we have ax squared will be plus 9a. Then will be plus 45 plus b equal to 75. Now we have 9a plus b have to be what? So we have 75 minus 45 plus 27. That will be 57. And that will be your equation number 2. So as you can see, we have one equation and two equations. we have to find the two values, so we can just solve simultaneously. Okay, so let's do that. So let's make b become the subject of formula. So b will be 22 minus 4a. Replace b here in b here by substitution. So let's do that. Let's find some space. Let me do this on top. Right here. So you have 9a plus b. b is 22 minus 4a is equal to 57. 9 minus 4 is 5a is equal to 57 minus 22. That will be 35. So a has to be 7. Now from this we can find the value of b. So b has to be 22 minus 4 times 7. That will be, 22 minus 4 times 7. That should be minus 6. So here we go. We have two values that we have for our question. The value of a will be 7 and the value of b will be minus 6. And that will be your question number 2. Okay, so let's move on to question number 3. A number and not of fish of some kind of species are introduced to a lake. So n naught is the amount of fish that was introduced in the lake. Now, the number n of these fish in the lake t weeks after introduction. So after introduction, t weeks. So t is measured in weeks. Is the number of fish. So n is the number of fish, and weeks, so time is measured in weeks, and it is given by this equation. So that's the main thing we need to know, to use basically to find the other values. Now k is the constant in the equation. Part 1, calculate the value of k after 34 weeks. So we know here after t equal to 34, we know the number of these fish, so number of fish is n, is equal to, has fallen to half of the number introduced, which is half. Number introduced was n naught, as you can see, n naught was the number introduced. So by using these values that we have, let's find the value of k. So let me rewrite down the equation that we have, which is, we have n equal to n naught exponential minus k times t. Now let's replace these values in the equation to find the value of k. So step by step, pretty easy. N will be half n naught is equal to n naught exponential minus 34k. Now we have n naught on both sides, they can cancel out. So you will have exponential minus 34k is equal to 0.5. Half is 0.5. Makes sense, right? Now, to find the value of k, we have to send this to this side. So, minus 34k, that will be ln of 0.5. Okay, so that will be the first part. Now, k will be the value of ln of 0.5 divided by minus 34. Now you can give this as your answer. This will be the exact value for k. Or if you want to, you can always solve the value and then provide the value correct to 3SF. That will be 0.0204. So, or you can write k is equal to 0.0204. And that will be your question for part 1. Now for part 2, we have to find the number of weeks, so find the value of t it takes for the number of these fish to have fallen to 1/5 of the number introduced. So we have to find the value of t when the number of fish, so when n is equal to 1/5 of the amount, so 1/5 of the amount introduced. So same steps, we just have to use those values and find the value of t. So same equation. Now we know n is equal to 1/5, n naught is equal to n naught exponential minus k and t. So we have to find the value of t. Now again, same step, we have n naught on both sides, they will both cancel out. Now 1 divided by 5 is 0.2. That will be this value right here. So exponential minus k t is equal to 0.2. So from this you can find the value of minus kt by sending this over here. You will have ln of 0.2. Now t has to be ln of 0.2 divided by minus k, which is what? Ln of 0.2 divided by 0.0204, that should be 78.894. So let's try again. It should not be negative. Ln of 0.2 divided by, so k is minus k here, so minus 0.0204. That will be 78.89. So that is the value of k. So sorry, t. So t will be weeks. Weeks has to be full weeks, so we have to write 79 weeks. Because here, if you write 78, it will not be good because you have 0.8 something. So we cannot take half a week, for example. If it crosses 78 weeks, we have to take the other week as well. So we have the value that we need. So t will be 79 weeks as your answer. And that is your question number 3. This one is a matrix question, so you will not have matrix for advanced anymore. So we can just skip over this one. Now let's move on to question number 5. So here we have what? So we have to find the set of values of m for which the line and the curve meets at 2 points. So whenever you see 2 points, 2 distinct points, you have to think about b squared minus 4ac has to be more than 0. That's the main point in this question. 2 distinct points mean this. Now when you see cuts, meet, or intersect, you have to solve simultaneously. Okay, so let's proceed with that. So here we have y, here we have y, so we can just replace in one another, right? So let's just put this y in this. So y is equal to this, y is also equal to this. So it will be mx minus 2 has to be x squared plus 8x plus 7. Okay, so now let's send everything to one side. You will have x squared plus 8x minus mx plus 7 plus 2 has to be 0. Simplify. X squared, we can factorize the x outside. You will have plus 8 minus m x plus 9. Now if you observe, this one is a quadratic equation where this is 1, which is a, this will be b, and this is c. So we have to replace these values in this main equation to solve our main question, the values of m. So let's do that. So b squared will be 8 minus m squared minus 4 times a times c is more than 0. That will be expand. You will have what? 64 minus 16 plus, sorry, 16m plus m squared minus 36 more than 0. Now let's simplify. You will have what? M squared minus 16, 64 minus 36, that will be 28. So that will be plus 28 has to be more than 0. Now let's write this equation right here to solve. Because as you guys know, whenever you have something like this with a more sign, we have to actually draw a graph and solve by using its critical values. So let's do that. So we have m squared minus 16m plus 28 is equal to 0 to find the critical values. So to find the critical values, we just change the sign for now from more to equal to. Now, we have to factorize to solve this equation. M squared is m times m, and 28. Let's find the factors of 28. So what do we know about 28? 28 is 1 times 28. It is 2 times 14. It is 4 times 7. As we can observe by trial and error, we can use 2 times 14 for this factorization. Now to get minus 16, we have to have minus 14 and minus 2. If that makes sense, to get minus 16. Now minus times minus have to be plus, and this is plus, so it is good. So m has to be 2, m has to be 14. Okay, so these are the critical values of m, which is not the answer, but we have to use those to find the answer. So now we go to the final step of the equation. We have to draw a graph. The shape of the graph depends on our equation. Because the coefficient of m is 1, which is positive, the shape of the graph will be a minimum shape, will be like this. And these two values here will be the critical values, which is 2 and 14. This is the line of 0. Now, what do we need? We need the equation to be more than 0. So more will be top and top values, right? More than 0. So basically, finally, m has to be less than 2 and m has to be more than 14. And that is your question number 5. So let's move on to question number 6. So a 4-digit number is to be formed using 4 of the 7 numbers available to you. Okay, so no digit can be used more than once. Find how many different 4-digit numbers can be formed if, first one, if there's no restriction. So pretty easy. Since all the numbers are different, we have 7. We can just write 7 permutation 4 for the 4 that we need. It will give you 7 permutation 4. That will be 840. Now this one is the formula method, but as always, you can always go back to use the logical method. So we have 7 numbers, which are all different, and we have to choose 1, 2, 3, and 4 from them. Now, for the first choice, I can choose any of those numbers, right? We have 7 choice, that will be 7. For example, let's say I choose 1. 1 is here. Now for the next one, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 options. Let's say I choose 3. Next one, I will have 5 options. Let's say I choose 4, and then I will have 4 options. Let's say I choose 5. So basically, number of options, we'll have to multiply them. And that should give you the same value, but let's check. 7 times 6 times 5 times 4, that will be 840. So as you can see, there's 2 ways of doing this question, one by formula and one by using your logic step by step to find the solution. Now for part 2, we have to find the number of numbers formed if the number is less than 4,000. So that's the main condition, has to be less than 4,000. So for those who has been watching my videos for a long time, we should know exactly how to do this question. Either way, let's first write down the numbers. We have 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. Now, for a number to be less than 4,000, again, we are forming a 1, 2, 3, 4 digit number. So we are forming a 4-digit number which is less than 4,000. That's the main idea here. Now, for it to be less than 4,000, it must begin with a number which is less than 4, if that makes sense. Because if you were to begin with 4, the next 3 choice, whichever number you can choose, it will never be less than 4,000. So you have to begin with something which is less than 4, if that makes sense. So less than 4, we only have 2 numbers that we have less than 4. Okay, so now we ask ourselves, how many options do we have to begin the number? As you can see, we have 2 options. So 2, let's say I choose 1. Now for the rest, there's no condition, so we proceed the same way as before. We can choose any number here. We will have 5 options. Let me choose 3, and then I can choose anything here. So sorry, it will be 6, not 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, not 5. Now let's say I choose 3. Now for this one, I can choose anything from here. We have 5 options. Let's say I choose 4, and then for this one, same thing. Let me I have 4 options. Let me choose 5. So your answer will be 2 times 6 times 5 times 4. That will be 240 as your answer. Okay, now let's move on to part 3 of the question. So we have to find a number is even, okay, and less than 4,000. So here we have 2 conditions, but let's first do the same steps. Let's first write down the number that we have And what is our logic behind? So we have 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so now for the number to be even, so for your number to be even, we know that it has to end with an even number. So basically, we have to form a 1, 2, 4-digit number, and the last number here has to be even. For it to be even, right? Now we know that for it to be less than 4,000, it has to begin with 103, so it has only 2 ways of beginning. And for the number to be even, it has to end with an even number. So we have 4 is even and 8 is even. Okay, so one by one. So let's do this one by one. So let's do even first. So for the number to be even, I have 2 choices. I can choose between 4 and 8. So I have 2 options. Let me choose 4. 4 here. Now, for it to be less than 4,000, I have 2 options. Let me choose 1. Okay. Now for the remaining, we have 3 options. So there's no condition, right? So we can choose from 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I have 5 options to choose from. So let me choose 3. And then I have 4 options. Let me choose 5. So as you can see, 2 times 5 times this times 2 will be your answer. 2 times 5 times 4 times 2 will be 80. So 80 will be your answer for part 3 of the question. Okay, and that is your question number 6. Now let's move on to question number 7. So here we have a rectangular sheet of metal measures 60 centimeters by 45 centimeters. A scoop is made by cutting out squares. So these are squares that are cut from this rectangular piece. So the square have side of x. So which means the square here, the side is x, has to be x, x, and x. Right. So same thing here. This has to be x, has to be x, and this has to be x. Because they are squares. That's the main idea. Now, here we have this, and then part 1. So we have to show the volume of the scoop is given by this formula. So let's see how can you find the volume. So this volume will be definitely, as you can see, it has length times width and times height. So what is the length of this shape? The length will be this, which is 60 minus x. If that makes sense, right? 60 is a big one. You have to minus this one here to find this space, because you have to fold this to make this look like this shape. So this will go up. This will be the length. Now what is this length? So this is 45. You have to minus x, so it will be 45 minus 2x. Okay? And what is the height of this box, of this scoop? So when you lift this up, when you close the box, this will become the height. If you use your imagination, if you were to close this box up, this will become the height. So the height will be x. So finally, just replace in your main formula to find the volume. So let's do that. So V has to be length is 60 minus x times width, which is 45 minus 2x, and times x for the height. So let's first bring the x inside. You will have 60x minus x squared, and then 45 minus 2x. That will be volume V. Now let's expand, because we have to show this is equal to this. So one by one, let's first take the first one, multiply by this. 60x times this will be what? 60x times 45, that will be, so we have 2700 x minus 120 x squared. That's times this will be minus 120 x squared. And here we have minus 45 x squared plus 2x cubed. So simplify, v has to be, so we have 2700x, combine those two will be minus 165 x squared and then plus 2x cubed. So this is the same as this, so this is shown as required. Okay, so that is part 1 of the equation. Now for part 2, given that x can vary, so x can change, that's what it means, we have to find the value of x at which v has a stationary value. So now, whenever you see that word, something must come to your mind. So whenever you see stationary value, you have to think about the differentiation of this value. So dv by dx has to be 0. So whenever you see this value, you have to know this is what they mean. Okay, so let's find dv by dx. So v is this, dv by dx will be what? dv by dx, pretty easy, differentiate, that will be 27 minus 165 times 2, that will be 330, and then plus, that will be 6x squared. And then we just have to equate that to 0. Now we can simplify this equation. Let's divide everything by 6. You will have 2700 divided by 6, that will be 450, minus 330 divided by 6, that will be 55, and then plus x squared equal to 0. Now you may ask, wait, how do you know you can divide by 6? The truth is I don't know. I'm just trying. So I say I could have begun with, let's divide everything by 2. And then I can see, okay, let me try it by 3. So I'm just trying to see if I can simplify this or not. It's not like I know already. I don't know. I'm trying one by one. Okay, so now let's solve this. As you can see, this is a simple quadratic equation. So let's rearrange this. We have x squared minus 55x plus 450 is equal to 0. X squared will be 2 brackets, x times x. 450 can be what? It can be 45 times 10. So we have 45 here, we have 10 here. To get minus 55, we have to have minus 45 and minus 10. So in that case, x have to be 45 and x have to be 10. So we have two values, possible values for x according to our equation. Now we have to choose because it says find the value of x. So only one value, which one will be okay. So by observation, you will see that this one will be the correct value. Because you can check here pretty easily that if you were to choose the value of x to be 45, because it's not possible, because this whole length is 45, we cannot minus 45 from this whole length. It wouldn't be possible, if that makes sense, right? So x can only be the value of 10, so we can still have a width from this rectangle. Anyways, that will be your question number 7. So let's move on to question number 8. So here we have to solve the equation, which means to find the value of x. So let's do one by one. So let me rewrite this down again on a fresh sheet of paper because there's just no space. So part 1, we have a log of 5x plus 10 is equal to, plus 2 log of 3 is equal to 1 plus log of 4x plus 12. Okay, so the first thing I can do here is I can simplify. Now, I can send this one on top. You will have log 3 power 2 will be 9. Now let's send, you can see here we have log, log, and log. Let's send all the logs to one side. Okay, you will have what? You have log of 5x plus 10 plus log of 9 and then minus log of 4x plus 12 equal to the value of 1. Now, we have to use the laws of logarithms to combine those three terms. The reason why we can combine them is because they have the same log. If these were different, you will not be able to do so directly. But given that here we have the same log, we can combine them. So we write log, and then here we have 5x plus 10. Now when you have plus, it becomes multiply by the value here will be 9. When you have minus, it becomes divide by the value here will be 4x plus 12 equal to 1. So now we just have to solve for the value of x. Now what is log? So lg is actually log to the base of 10. Now for example here, let's say I have log of a is equal to 1. So let's find the value of a, which means we have log of 10a. To find the value of a, I have to send this one over here as the base. So a will be 10 power 1. So that's the idea to solve this one. Basically the value here inside is a, so let's write this down. 5x plus 10 times 9 over 4x plus 12 has to be 10 power 1, which is 10. Okay, now we can try to cross multiply if you want to. Let's cross multiply. Expand this, you will have 45x plus 90 is equal to 40x plus 120. This multiplied by 10, right? Now let's send all the x to one side. You will have 45x minus 40, that should be 5x, and 120 minus 90, that should be 30. But of course, let's check using your calculator, because why not? 30. So x will be 30 divided by 5, that should be 6. So x will be your value. So 6 will be your value for your question part 1. That is for this one. This is your value of x equal to 6. Now let's solve for this one. So same thing, let me rewrite this down on a fresh sheet so we have more space to do the question. So the question we have is what? Part 2. We have 9 2y over 7 minus y equal to 4y plus 3 over 27 y minus 2. So basically here we have to find the value of x and y. Now usually if you do many questions by observation, you will be able to see something is common here. Look at the base. What do we have? We have 9. We have 3 first. 3 is the smallest. We have 9 and we have 27. So what do we realize about the base? They are all powers of 3, if you think. Right. This is 3 power 1. This is 3 power 2. This is 3 power 3. So let's replace all those different numbers by the same base. That's the main idea here. So 9 will be 3 power 2 times 2 will be 3 power 4. Over, this is 3 already, so it will be the same thing, it will not change. E is equal to, same thing again, it will not change. And then over, this one is 27, has to be 3. So 3 times this top will be 3y minus 6. So here we just have to find the value of y. Actually, there's no x, there's only y to find. So we can first try to simplify. Now to simplify this, we have to use the laws of indices. So what do I mean? Let's say I have a base of 3 of a divided by 3 base of b. We can combine them together because they have the same base. You can just write 3. Here we have a. Because it is divide, we can write minus b. So same logic here. We have the same base. We can combine them together. So what do we have? You have 3 as the base. Here we have 4y. We have divide become minus, and then write the value here will be 7 minus y. E is equal to, here we have 3, 4y plus 3. Here we have divide become minus. Put your bracket here, and here you will have 3y minus 6. Let's simplify. 3, that will be 4y minus 7 plus y, 3, 4y plus 3 minus 3y plus 6. So simplify. So 4y plus y will be 5y minus 7. And that will be what here? 4y minus that will be y plus 9. Now, because we have the same base on both sides, we can cancel them out. So it is only because we have the same base we can do that. Now you will have 5y minus 7 equal to y plus 9. So finally, we can send this one over here. You will have 5y minus y equal to 9 plus 7. That will be 16, and that will be 4y equal to 16, so y has to be 4. So this is your question, number 8, part 2. The value of y will be the value of 4. So let's move on to the next question. So question number 10. So 9, we will not be doing number 9 because you will not be tested on relative velocity anymore. Because of that, we will not be doing question number 9. So let's do 10 directly. Solutions to this question by drawing will not be accepted. So basically, you have to show every step of your work on how did you find the answer. Okay, so let's move on to the question. So the diagram shows a quad ABCD in which A is a point 14 and B is a point 65, as you can see here on the diagram. Now, we have angle ABC is a right angle and the point C lies on the x-axis, as you can see again on the diagram. Now, the line AD is parallel to the y-axis. So this one is parallel to the y-axis. And the line CD is parallel to BA. So these two are parallel to each other. Okay, now part 1, we have to find the equation of the line CD. So CD, we have to find this equation of the line CD. So let's think how can we find this. So to find the equation of a line, we must find its gradient. That's the first thing. And also we have to find a passing point, if that makes sense, right? So let's see how can we do that. So for the passing point, you can either find the point C or the point D. It is up to you. Whichever you think is easiest, you can just do that. So one thing we can know here is that since AD is vertical, it is parallel to the y-axis, it is vertical, I know that here for the x value it has to be the same as this one, which is 1. And this I don't know, but that is okay. I know we have this for now. And for C, we don't know yet. We can try to find C as well. So let's see how can we do that. Okay, so to find the point C, we know that the point C is the intersection between the x-axis and the line BC. So how can you find the equation of the line BC? So let's think, how can we find the line BC? So to find the equation of a straight line, we must first find its gradient. Gradient BC. So to find gradient BC, we can find gradient AB. Why? Because the line AB is at the right angle with the line BC, and because of that we can use each other to find each other's gradient. So let's begin with this part. The gradient of AB is equal to y2 minus y1, so 5 minus 4 over x2 minus x1. That will be 1 over 5, which means the gradient of BC have to be minus 5. This one is minus 5 for its gradient. Now to find the equation, so the equation BC, so we have a passing point B, which is 6, 5. This is x and y value, as we all know, right? So to find the equation, we have to do y minus its corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value equal to the gradient of line BC, which is minus 5. Then we just have to cross multiply. You will have y minus 5 equal to minus 5x plus 30. Now simplify to what? Y is equal to minus 5x plus 35. So this is my first part of my plan to find the point C. Now, I know this equation. I know the point C lies on the x-axis. So on the x-axis, what do you know? So on the x-axis, we know that the value of y has to be 0, replace in the equation to see what do we have. So 0, so y becomes 0, minus 5x plus 35. So x has to be 7. So basically the point C, we know it is 7, 0. Y is 0, not x. So C has to be 7, 0. Okay, that is the point C. Now to find the equation of line C, so let's see what can we do now. So to find the equation of line CD, we must first find its gradient CD. This is pretty easy because we know that these two lines are parallel with each other, so which means if the gradient of AB is equal to 1 over 5, it also means that the gradient of CD has to be the same thing, 1 over 5. Same direction, right? Now let's see. We have a passing point which is C. That will be 7, 0. We can use that to find the equation of that line. That will be the x value and the y value. So y minus corresponding value over x minus the corresponding value equal to your gradient. Then we just have to cross multiply. You will have 1 over 5 y. Sorry, it's not 1 over 5. It's 5y. So cross multiply. So 5y is equal to x minus 7. Okay, you can leave your answer just like that, or if you want to, you can make y become subject. That will be 1 over 5x minus 7 over 5. So that will be your answer for part 1, which is 5y equal to x minus 7. Now for part 2 of the question, we have to find the area of the quad ABCD. So from all the points that we need, we have A, B, C that we know. We just have to find the points D. So this is pretty easy. Let's see what can we use. So we know that the gradient of CD or DC, same thing, 1 over 5. As you can see here, we know this is the same as this, so we know this is the value. Now, we can use those 2 points. Let's pretend to find the gradient. So that'll be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That should be 1 over 5. So let's solve. You will have what? Minus 5y is equal to the value of, this is 6. So y has to be 6 divided by minus 5. So minus 1.2. So the point D finally is 1 minus 1.2. Okay, so let's write this down. Now we have all the 4 points. We can use the points to find the area of that shape. So we have the point A, which is 1, 4. The point B, which is 6, 5. The point C, which is 7, 0. And the point D, which is 1 and minus 1.2. So let's use the formula to find the area of this shape ABCD. That will be half modulus of the first point, 1, 4. Then we have 6, 5, 7, 0, 1 minus 1.2, and then we have to end with the first point. So when you begin with a point, you have to end with the same point. So first thing, we have to multiply in this direction. So let's do that. So we have half. So first we have 1 times 5 is 5, plus 6 times 0 is 0, and then plus 7 times minus 1.2, and plus 4. That will be 0.6. Then we have minus. Now we have to multiply in this direction. So 4 times 6 plus 5 times 7 plus 0 plus minus 2 times 1. That should give you 57.8. So 0.6 minus 57.8, that should be half, minus 57.2 divided by 2, that will be minus 28.6. But now of course the value will be positive. It is inside a modulus. Any value inside a modulus will be giving you the positive value. So 28.6 units square for the area. Okay, so that is the question number 10. So let's move on to question number 11. So part 1, we have 5 sin x minus 3 cos x equal to 0, and the values of x is between 0 and 360. So one by one. So the main idea here is, whenever you have sine and cos in the same equation, you always divide by cos of the value. So you will have what? You will have 5 sine x divided by cos x will be tan x minus 3 equal to 0. You have tan x equal to 3 over 5. Now, as you guys know by now, we have the value of tan is positive in the first quadrant and in the third quadrant. The first one is simply the value you will get, and this one has to be 180 plus x. So x has to be tan inverse of value, so tan inverse of 3 over 5, that will be 30.96. So we can write this as 40.0. Sorry, 31, not 40. Of course not. So we have to send this here, it will be 31. As you can see, I tend to make silly mistake, but the method is always right. Now, because as you can see, x will be only this value, and the other value will be 180 plus x, so it will be 180 plus 31, that will be 211.0. So this will be your answer for part 1. X has to be two values, 31.0 and then 211.0 degrees. X between 0 and 360. Now for part 2, we have to solve this equation for the value of y between 0 and 360. Now, we know that cos square y can also be written as 1 minus sine square y. Replace back in this, you will have, so you have 2 minus 2 sine square y minus sine y minus 1 equal to 0. So now you may ask me, why did I do this? It's because if you see here we have sine y, here we have cos square y. But now I cannot really change this one, but I know that I can use something to change this one, so everything will be in terms of sine. So almost everything will be in terms of sine y. It will make our life easier. So that's the main point. That's the reason why I changed this to something like this. So you will have what? Minus 2 sine square y minus sine y. So 2 minus 1 is plus 1 is 0. Now let's simplify. Let's send everything to the other side because this is negative. You will have 2 sine y plus sine y minus 1 is 0. Now let's factorize. That will be 2 sine y. Sine y, 1 is 1 times 1. Now to get plus 1 here, we have to have plus 2. So plus 2 minus 1. So now we have two values possible. Let's see what can we do. So let's continue on a different page. So right now I have this. So I have 2 sine y minus 1 is equal to 0, or sine y plus 1 is equal to 0. So sine y is equal to half, and sine y is equal to minus 1. Now, we have two possible values. Let's take a look at one by one. So when sine is positive, it will be in your first quadrant and in your second quadrant. The first value here will be the value of y directly. It is positive, and it will be this one, which will be 180 minus y. So y will be sine inverse of half, that should be 30. 180 minus 30, that should be 150. Okay, that is okay. Now, when a sine is negative, you have to know it will be in the third quadrant and the fourth quadrant. Now, because it is negative, I will proceed with the value of theta. Theta is a fake angle. I just use this because the value is negative, just trying to help me to find the answer. So that will be sine inverse. I will take the positive value here. So sine inverse of 1, that will be 90 degrees. So my value of y will be what? Will be, this has to be 360 minus theta, and this will be 180 plus theta. So y has to be these two values. So 360 minus theta will be 270. But also 180 plus theta will be also 270. So in final, we have three values of y, as we have seen here. So let me write this here. Y can be 30, can be 150, and can be 270 degrees. And that will be your answer for part 2. Now let's move on to part 3 of the question. We have 3 sec z equal to 10. So let me write this here. So we have to solve 3 sec z equal to the value of 10. Now for z between two values of 0 and 6 radians. So one by one, because it is hard to work with sec, we have to know that sec z can be 1 over cos z. So you will have sec z has to be 10 divided by 3. So finally cos z will be 3 over 10, which will be 0.3. Now as you can see, cos is positive here, so it will be in my first quadrant and in my fourth quadrant. Okay, so here we have cos of, z will be, because it is positive, we can find the value directly. It will be cos inverse of 0.3. That will be the first value here. So cos inverse, so we have to use radians, 0.3, that will be 1.26. And then we have this one, which is 2 pi minus the angle. Answer. So answer will be this one. So 5.02. So that will be between the value of 0 and 6 will be two values that we need for the answer. And that is your question number 11. Now let's move on to question number 12. This one usually we have to answer just one of the questions, but of course I'll be doing both of them, so don't worry. So let's move on with the first one. So we have two functions, f and g are defined for x is more than 1. That is the domain, positive value. Now we have these two given to you already, that's good. Now part 1 is we have to find f g of 9. So what I like to do here is I like to first find the value of g of 9, because it will be kind of tough to go find this and then this. So just first let's find this. So what is g of 9? So g of 9, replace the value of x by 9 in the equation. So that will be 3 times 9 will be 27 plus 5 over 8. That should be what? That will be 4. So that will be 4. So which means this is equal to f of 4. Now it is easier to solve. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 squared is 25. Minus 4, that should be 21 as your answer. That will be part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find f inverse and g inverse of x. So one by one, this is pretty easy. And I hope you guys know how to do this by now, because if you guys don't, then yeah, I wish you good luck. So first one is first find inverse of f. We have to first let y equal to f of x, which is x plus 1 square minus 4, given to you right here. Now we have to make x become the subject of formula, so that will be plus 4 equal to x plus 1 square. Now x plus 1 is equal to square root of y plus 4. So x has to be minus 1 plus minus y plus 4. Now of course the inverse is in terms of x, so you have to rewrite this in terms of x. That will be minus 1 plus x plus 4. So we'll take the positive value for this one because of the domain defined. So let's move on to the next one. So we have to find g inverse. So first step, same thing, let y equal to g of x. That will be 3x plus 5 over x minus 1. Okay, now we have to make x become subject, so we have to cross multiply. You will have yx minus y 3x plus 5. Send all the x to one side, you will have yx minus 3x is equal to 5 plus y. Simplify. Here you will have what? We factorize the x outside, you will have y minus 3, 5 plus y. So finally x will be what? 5 plus y divided by y minus 3. So let's rewrite this down. G inverse, it is in terms of x, so that will be 5 plus x over x minus 3. Okay, so that will be part 2 of the equation. Now let's move on to part 3 of the question. So here we have to find the value of x, so only one value of x, for which g of x is equal to g inverse of x. Now in this case, you can always take this, equate to this, or even easier, you can just write g of x, which is 3x plus 5, x minus 1 is equal to x. So you may ask me why? Why can I just put x here? So it makes sense if you think about what is the relationship between the function g of x and its inverse. Now I think if you would draw a graph, you will understand it better. For example, let's say if I have the y-axis here, I have the x-axis. And let's say my graph of g of x looks something, looks something like this. Right. Now, what is the relationship between a function and its inverse? So by now we know that they are a reflection on the line y equal to x. Right? So we know that the other graph will be reflected on this line. It will look something like this. So that will be my g of x, and that will be g inverse of x. Now we are trying to find this value of x where they meet, right? Because it is equal, as you can see here. So we are trying to find this value where they meet. Now this value of x is also the point where the function meets with the line y equal to x. So instead of solving the hard equation, let me just solve this one where the function meets with this line. It's the same answer, if that makes sense, right? So I will just cross multiply. Let me find some space here. So I will have 3x plus 5. That will be x squared minus x. That will be x squared. So we have 3x here. We send this over here. So minus x minus 3. That should be minus 4. Minus 5 is equal to 0. Now we just have to factorize. That'll be x, and 5 is 5 times 1. So now for you to get the value of the equation of minus 4, so you have to have minus 5 plus 1. So x can be minus 1 or x can be 5. So obviously you will take this value because, as you know from the beginning, x is defined for x is more than 1, so you will be only this value as your answer. So basically where they meet is the value of x equal to 5. Okay, that will be your question, part 1 of 12. So a particle moves in a straight line so that at time t, after passing a point O, the value of v, which is the velocity, is given to you by this equation. Okay, so part 1, we have to find the value of v of the particle at the instant that it passes O. So basically we have to find the value of v at time equal to 0. So because we only start counting when passing the point O. So when you pass the point O, it's the beginning, so the time will be 0. So just replace the value of t by 0 in this equation. You will have 0 plus 4 times cos of 0. That should be 4 meters per second. That should be the value of v. Now for part 2, we have to find the acceleration of the particle at time equal to 5. Now, something we have to know is that the acceleration is equal to dv by dt. So we know the value of v has been given to you by 6t plus 4 cos 2t. So a has to be differentiation of this one with respect to t. That will be 6 plus 4 minus sine 2t times 2. That will be 6 minus 8 sine 2t. Now you may ask, why did I multiply by 2 in the end? Because whenever you have to differentiate a trigonometry function, the first one is a multiple, it remains the same. Then differentiating cos give you minus sine. So this is the angle, we have to write on the same thing, but now multiply by the differentiation of the angle now. That's why d by dt of dt, that will give you 2. That's why you have to multiply by 2 at the end. For example, let's say I have to differentiate cos 8t. So d by dt will be what? So we have cos become minus sine of the angle remain the same, but then multiply by 8 because we have to multiply by d by dt of the angle. So same concept, this is what we have to do here. So simplify, you have this as your answer for A. So we have to find the value of A at t equal to 5. 6 minus 8 sine, that will be 10. Right? 2 times 5 is 10. Now let's try to solve this equation. So 6 minus sine of 10. You have to use radians here for your angle. That will be, so let's try again, 6 minus 8 sine of 10. Okay, that will be 10.4. That will be meters per second square. That will be your answer for part 2. Now for part 3, we have to find the greatest value of the acceleration. Now let's look at the equation. So this one is only 1 mark, so it should be pretty simple, right? So if you look at the equation for acceleration, we have A equal to 6 plus 4, sorry, this one actually. So 6 minus 8 sine 2t. Now, we can actually just do this by observation. So we have here sine 2t. Something we know is that sine 2t will always be between the values of minus 1 and 1. Now if I take the value of sine 2t to be minus 1, that will be 6 minus 8 times minus 1, that will be 14. So the maximum value for A will be 14 meters per second square. And that is your answer for part 3. Now for part 4, we have to find the distance traveled in the 5th second. So that's something kind of hard to understand. When you say 5th second, it is actually the time between the 4 to the 5th second. So between those two. But we have to find the distance traveled. But first we have to find the displacement function. It is equal to integration of v. That will be integrate v. We have 6t plus 4 cos 2t by dt. So let's see what you have. Obviously we have to use limits here if you want to, but no big deal. Let's see what do we have. So here we have 6t squared over 2 plus 4 sine 2t over 2 plus c. That will be s, which is your displacement. So let's simplify. S will be 3 t squared plus 2 sine 2t plus c. Now the value of c will become 0. Why? Because we know that when the value of t was 0, the value of s was also 0. Because as you can see, s is only measured after passing the point O, which means at the beginning, obviously distance traveled or displacement will be 0. So at time t0, s will be also 0. So let me find some more space. So right now we have s is equal to 3t squared plus 2 sine 2t. So we need to find the distance traveled between the time t equal to 4 to t equal to 5. So we can just replace. So basically let's find the displacement at time equal to 5. That will be 5 squared plus 2 sine 2 times 5. That will be 3 times 25 plus 2 sine of 10. 3 times 25 is 75 plus 2 sine of 10, that will be 73 point something, 73.91195. Now let's find the displacement at time equal to 4. That'll be 3, 4 square, plus 2 sine 2 times 4. That will be 3 times 16, plus 2 sine of 8. That will be 3 times 16, plus 2 sine of 8. That will be 49.978716. So we just need to minus those two to find the distance traveled. So basically the idea is distance traveled is the displacement at time equal to 5 minus displacement at time equal to 4. That should be 23.9 meters. So something you have to understand here, displacement and distance traveled are two different things. Displacement is, we have direction, so we are measuring distance with relation to a point O, for example. So now, okay, if you understand the answer is here, you can, this is the video is done. But if you want to follow what does displacement mean, you can watch this part. Basically have a point O right here. Displacement is measured from this point O. So basically what I did was I found the distance from the point O at time t equal to 5 and distance from the point O at time t equal to 4. So the difference here will be the distance traveled between time 4 to 5, which is the value that we are trying to find, which is the 5th second. 5th second. Okay, anyways, that was the last question of this paper. I hope that was somewhat helpful. As always, thank you for watching. I will see you soon.